if you've given up on this property, we just let people live there. Who fucking cares? What does it matter?
Just go to them and say, hey, but that's money better spent because you're not just shoveling the problem out somewhere else.
Yeah. You're already dejected. Your life is already seen as pointless and useless by society.
Yeah.
And then they throw the last remaining vestiges of what you have into a fucking garbage bag and throw it on the street.
Well, not only that, like they're calling this like a win for crime. And it's like, jump right into it. Welcome to another kitchen sink microscopy. I'm Casey Rochford, and I've had a lot of beer. And we'd love it if you'd like and share and subscribe. And hey, if you want to see us live, and I don't mean like a live stream only, I mean on a fucking stage, then you should come out for my 40th birthday extravaganza Thursday, December 30th at Colt Mead in Tacoma, Washington. It's going to be badass.
Yeah, double live.
Live.
Live streamed, but also in front of a live studio audience.
Yes, you can certainly watch it on the YouTubes as usual, but you can totally be there in person. No cover charge. Just come on and yell at us and throw fruit if you... Well, please don't throw fruit and get us kicked out of the venue. But
yeah, that wouldn't be very nice. Yeah. I am simultaneously terrified and excited.
It'll be awesome.
Yeah, it will be. Yeah. So I'm Eric Rosenblatt, and don't forget, we Casey and I write our own music. Sorry if I've had a few too many beers too. Trying to sort the back end stuff out does take time, and yeah,
we don't need to hear about your sex life.
Oh yeah, I'll save that for another episode. But we write our own music, and it's available on iTunes and Spotify and stuff. So stick around to the end of the episode. Timestamp somewhere down here, hovering around there, and you'll hear a new song. You can go to our website. It's ksmvidcast.com, and yeah, I'm looking forward to like a super duper live video. That's going to be something different.
Oh yeah,
even for the venue that we're going to, they've never done anything like this too. So this is cool.
Yeah, definitely want to throw them some plugs. Like they make mead there, and it's super good. There's like nothing on their tap that's less than 12% alcohol. So bring a designated driver. And if anyone wants to be my designated driver, let me know.
I mean, preferably some kind of like sexy girl that, I mean, just knowing you, I would think that's what you want.
I won't argue with that.
So,
turn that down.
Nor would I. But, hey, it's your birthday, so fucking, anything goes.
Yes.
So what do you want to talk about today, Casey, on this very alcoholic day?
Well, it's also getting cold out. Mm-hmm. And I saw something in the news today that kind of triggered me a little bit. Seattle has, a stretch of road that's kind of known for being a little seedy, prostitution, gang activity, crime, whatever. And there's this hotel that had been abandoned, I guess, and there were squatters and the police just came and like kicked them all out and put them out on the street and called it like a win for crime because there was a lot of crime around there apparently. And it's like, you know, crime, right? Like these are people down on their luck doing what they need to do to survive. So more than likely it's probably just like born out of necessity rather than malicious intent. But, you know, I'm surmising. But, you know, like I just thought it was like, I mean, we've done way back in season one of our first episodes really was an interview with a former homeless man. And we haven't really talked a whole lot about homelessness as far as like this whole movement to just kind of like shovel it from one place to the other and act like you're fixing it, right?
Yeah. Oh God. You know, it's possible that I might be I might have had a little bit too much beer. I'm going to have some more to discuss this topic in depth, but it really does speak to me because yeah, like the guy that we had on is one of my best friends from a very long time ago. And he was homeless. And I made friends with homeless people through him. Some really good people. And yeah, like oh man.
Well, I mean, like
the win thing, like, you know, win for crime, that really bugs me.
Yeah.
That rubs me very, very much the wrong way.
That's a huge stereotype.
Yeah.
Well, it is and it isn't. Like, you know, I put air quotes around like crime because I think, I don't know if this is still on the books or not, but vagrancy is technically illegal.
Well, depending on where you live, yeah, it might
like,
be here.
Like the act of not having a home is illegal, but
which is bullshit.
But the cost of homes being sky high is not illegal. Fuck you.
Yeah,
like
exactly. like the average house in Washington State, isn't it like $300,000? And if you live in Seattle, it's like $800,000. Like, who can afford that shit?
No,
I mean, how many people do you have? I remember back in the day, you know, being a teenager, we would live communally, like a bunch of people living in this space. It was like $500 a month and we'd all split it evenly and stuff. But even that, hi, Floyd. Yeah. So Floyd wants to come talk about communal living. Well, I'll give you your food ration later. But it's really annoying. Sorry, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, I actually just recorded, but haven't edited yet, a minute microscopy on this whole idea of like moving toward multifamily housing. And I think it's a lot of bullshit. Like, if you want to do that, that's one thing, but to be basically forced to have to do that in order to afford a place to live, I think that's we're just bordering on like complete and sheer insanity. Like, I mean, like, that's not something I don't think I could do. And like one of the points I make in the minute microscopy is like, if you dated someone for like a month and then talked about moving in together, everyone would be like, oh, you don't know them very well. But it's totally like, oh, everyone's like, well, if you want to find someone to live with, just go on Craigslist and meet some stranger and like move into their house. That's cool.
You got a point there.
Yeah.
That's a very valid point.
Yeah. Like living with somebody kind of requires like an existing rapport if you expect it to work on any level, you know?
Oh yeah. No, it's not to say that getting a roommate, like finding a roommate on Craigslist or wherever, is a bad idea. I think sometimes, I mean, you and I ended up being roommates by chance. And it worked out pretty well
We already knew each other, though.
Well, that's true. Yeah, and like you
for years.
Yeah, well, yeah, for a very long time. And there are people who are inclined to move in with somebody who they haven't known for years. I wouldn't judge either way, honestly. You don't know.
No, I'm not judging. I'm just saying, like, the financial situation and like the societal norms seem to be like pushing that, as like how it should be, or like how it has to be.
Yeah.
I mean, it will probably fall into a bit of an economics discussion, I'm sure, but
it could be, but I don't think this has to go down that route. Like,
well, you've noticed a ramp up in the homeless population in the last few years, right? Like, the pandemic has severely screwed with the economy and people's incomes, and
as we kind of like touched on in the homelessness episode, it's not necessarily entirely economic. It's not.
Yeah, sometimes it's by choice, but
it can be by choice. It can be psychological, like mental health. It could be drug addiction, all kinds of things. But that's immaterial. The fact is, there are people living on the street, and like you'd said earlier, there were people holed up in this hotel that was seemingly abandoned. Like, if you've given up on this property, we just let people live there. Who fucking cares? What does it matter?
Yeah.
Especially in winter. It's a different story if it's in the middle of summer or something, but it's getting frosty outside. The snow is falling. It's going to come. It's very cold out. Like,
I would say, and maybe this isn't even enough to pay for that property, right? But if, like you're saying, if you've already like basically abandoned this building, whoever owns it, right? Mm-hmm. Just go to them and say, hey, you've got squatters living here. What about whatever we would spend on sending the police in here to clear them out? We just kind of give you, and you can like, sink that into, that space, and, like recoup some costs or whatever, and just let them be, or maybe fix it up for them or whatever. Mm-hmm. But that's money better spent, because you're not just shoveling the problem out somewhere else,
Oh yeah. Well, and a lot of these properties are these abandoned properties. They're pushing people out, excluding people, and simply paying property tax on them.
Yeah.
And like, okay, they're vacant. Well, there's a lot of homeless people.
Yeah.
Now, there may come some problems with welcoming said homeless people into those places. But that's a problem that there are a lot of people willing to deal with. There are like volunteer people who will happily solve those problems for you. Simply to house
there were volunteers that came in to clear out those people's possessions. They didn't even get to take their shit with them. They put them all in garbage bags and threw them on the street, on the curb.
And imagine, how that would feel to you. Like, you're already dejected. Your life is already seen as pointless and useless by society.
Yeah.
And then they throw the last remaining vestiges of what you have into a fucking garbage bag and throw it on the street.
Well, not only that, like, they're calling this like a win for crime, and it's like, is that how you think you solve crime? By like pissing off the criminals even more? You think they're not going to just like retaliate?
Well, and like I was saying before too, homelessness is not a criminal thing.
No,
it's a state that you exist in.
it's just
it
people
should
see it
not
as
be a crime.
unclean, you know, like they're like, ooh, it's dirty and it must be evil.
Has anybody ever seen like the videos with the hoarder houses where the landlord comes in to pick up the pieces after a hoarder moves out? Like,
yeah,
they paid rent. But that's frankly a lot shittier and much more terrifying than some people who, you know, I've seen people in homeless camps making some cool stuff. They have their tents. Some people keep it clean. Honestly, like, look, I'm all for it. If people want to have an RV or a tent or whatever, even a tent city, use unused spaces. That's fine. Just keep it clean. Like if you keep things clean, it's very hard. Like,
well, it makes a difference in perception. Like,
respect.
Have you been to Victoria, BC?
Not in a long time.
So I was there a number of years ago, and you know, just kind of walking through the city. There were some homeless people, but I noticed they didn't have that Seattle homeless person odor of like stale urine or anything. They smelled clean. They looked clean. And I think Victoria probably provides them with basic hygiene needs. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, like, you know, a lot of British Columbia is very like liberal minded and, you know, all about like helping people out and stuff like that. And they seemed happier. You know, they were like, hey, do you have any spare change? It's like, oh no, sorry. And they're like, okay, no problem. Cool. You know, they weren't like belligerent or like mentally touched or anything. They were just like people who happened to not have a home, but they seemed like kind of well taken care of at the same time. So, like, you know, it goes a long way if you do even a little bit to help people in need, you know?
Yeah.
But like not helping them and like forcing them out of what little, you know, home they've got, like that is not going to make things any better. It's quite the opposite.
No, I don't understand how anybody would expect it to be any different. Yeah. Like, what do you think the outcome is going to be?
Yeah, people are cheering up like, yay, you kicked them out of this hotel. Everything is solved. Yay.
Yeah, and I think at least in our area, a lot of the homelessness does correlate with drug addiction and mental health issues. But that doesn't mean we should discard these people.
No.
They're people. There are people going through like real human things. You know, maybe we should adopt something more like Portugal. So you should look at the stats. I would encourage everybody to look at like what happened in Portugal, how things were before and how things were after they basically decriminalized all drugs. Heroin overdoses are like non-existent now. AIDS is like non-existent now there. And it used to be a huge problem. Just a thought. I don't know.
You couple that with, what was it, Denmark or somewhere in the Netherlands, maybe, where there's like a city where they have basically eliminated homelessness by like just sinking some money into like those tiny houses and just saying, here you go. And, you know, like you combine that with like legalized drugs, you know, that you can tax and, you know, use to pay for the small houses, maybe. You know, it's like,
and track that too. Like you know what's going on. No, I totally agree. Like the tiny house thing is awesome. And in Tacoma, I don't know, there's like a church on Orchard Street where they do that, which is cool. It's very hard, though. One of the most heartbreaking stories that I've seen was a guy in like LA, I think, maybe, a musician that was building tiny houses for homeless people. But then the state came in and they were like, oh, no, you can't do that. And he had all these houses set up, and it was like the most touching stories of these people who didn't have anything, but now they had a house, like even it might have been a small place, but it was a place to call home. Yeah. And then the state was like, oh, nope, swoop that out from under you. And because of regulations and stuff like that. And so, yeah, like, fucking, okay, I get the whole code thing, but is there like state enforcement on code in tents?
Well, no. Exactly. I was going to say, these tiny houses you could basically make them tent cities, but with like running water.
Well, and they're like miles above in terms of quality, like build quality and
shelter.
Yeah. So much better. Yeah, they're not perfect, but we have to look at things in a different way. Mm-hmm. These are homeless people. Like, and I don't know. I struggle thinking about, like, should everybody have a home? I don't know. I almost think like being stateless and homeless is actually, okay, call me crazy, but I kind of think that's actually a superior place to be.
Should is maybe not the right question, because that's like deciding for other people or whatever. But
well, I agree.
Could everyone have their own home? Absolutely. Like there are enough empty spaces to fill all the homeless people and have room left over.
If you got rid of zoning, if you just in Tacoma alone, let's take Tacoma because we both live here. If you went down to the tide flats, all of the warehouse space, all of this empty, unoccupied land, I see people like building tent cities in the median on 509. And I'm like, yeah, that's cool. Okay, yeah, there might have been a fire there one time. But there probably won't be a fire there because hopefully they're going to engineer their way out of that and not let that happen again.
And it's dangerous to be there.
It is, but it's a place that nobody, like, it's useless space that is for show. Like this like grassy space between highway lanes and stuff, like, yeah, fucking use it. Put your tent there if you're homeless, I don't care, just keep it clean. That's the only thing. Pack out what you pack in, take care of your trash, clean things up, keep things civil, and people are gonna respect you in that regard.
Like how much would it really cost to have some garbage truck drivers volunteer for overtime on like a Saturday or Sunday to just go to these tent city areas and let people throw their shit into the back of the garbage truck?
And they would be. Yeah, it's a humanitarian service. Like, I think a lot of people would. And I like, honestly, if the local garbage company, if it wasn't a monopoly, TPU, I would volunteer to help out with that.
Could we buy our own garbage truck? I'm sure we could.
Oh yeah. You can. It's very hard to compete with the state, though.
Well, it doesn't need to be a business or anything. We just like we could get, donations from the community to like
Mhm.
fund the, weekly cost of going to the dump with all this shit,
Oh yeah.
and make it a service or something, like
Oh, that's a good idea.
I don't think
Oh
I've
man,
ever
I
heard of
like that.
anyone come up with the idea of like taking a dump truck around to tent cities, but like, why
Mhm.
not?
Yeah. Well, yeah, because now I have mad respect because I've seen some homeless people that put their stuff in garbage bags and store it. The implication being maybe they're gonna take
Yeah.
it somewhere and discard it.
Well,
That's cool.
nobody wants to live in trash.
No,
you
no,
know,
very few. There are some people who are okay with that. Um, but that doesn't present a very palatable image for the public.
right.
And if you want public support, you have to be palatable. Um, so yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah.
Man, yeah, that's
I wish I heard more news stories about people trying to think of actual solutions rather than all of this like strong arming. Like
yeah.
eh,
Well, and placations,
yeah,
that's the thing. I agree. Like, I want to solve this issue as much as you do. Like, I don't know the solutions, and I don't think either of us can know the solutions. But
yeah,
it's
but I mean,
important to try things, experiment, and use the information we have, the knowledge we have to make the world a better place.
yeah, it always comes down to intent.
Yeah.
If somebody is doing something you don't like, but they don't intend to, using force to correct that behavior is the absolute opposite of what you need to be doing.
Yeah.
Now, if they're actually doing something that you don't like on purpose, like to harm you, that's when you can strong arm them, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. Like
But
somebody, there's a difference between somebody setting fire to your house because it's fun, and somebody like pitching
fire.
it, yeah, fuego, and pitching a tent on the street corner. There's a huge difference there. Um, like yeah, if somebody's like burning my house or busting things or kicking stuff or cutting my Christmas lights, not that I have any, um, I I'm gonna be a little more inclined to have a negative response there. But somebody just hanging out there like doesn't bother me. In fact, I would honestly like. I had this idea um, about uh, supporting homeless people. Like if somebody had an RV and they came to me and were like, "Hey, can we hook up to your utility service um, and just live out there on your street corner, but we'll watch over your house while you're at work. Make sure nothing stupid happens and nobody breaks in, your cat doesn't get out, fire doesn't start." I'd be like, yeah, that's a valuable service. Like, I don't even know how much I would honestly pay for that. That
Well, people pay the mafia for that, but
yeah, exactly. Like, it, that's kind of a small price to pay for somebody just hanging out on the curb.
Yeah.
And maybe using a little bit of your power, a little bit of your water or something. Um, although utilities are getting stupidly expensive right now. Fucking nuclear. That's that's where we should be going. God. Um, but that's my tirade in that regard.
Yeah, I feel like the way we handle homelessness and the way that people kind of like cheer for how we handle it just
Yeah.
gives me the willies. Like it's
It,
inhumane, you know.
it is. And yeah, you're right. And there's kind of a lot of assumptions there about like kind of lumping every homeless person together in the same bucket as if
Yeah.
they got there because of the same reasons.
And let's not mince words. Homeless just means like you don't have a home of your own. So
Yeah.
I've technically been homeless in the span of this show.
Yeah.
Like I was living in Joe's spare room for a couple months and you know had to do the show in your living room for a while, you know. Like,
well, and imagine the like my dream situation. I intend to live on a sailboat. Is that homeless?
well,
Like, would I be homeless
if
at
you
that point?
own the boat and you live in it, I would call that a home. But
Well, but how is
that's
that
me.
different than an RV that's traveling around the country?
I don't think that's homeless either. Technically,
I don't. No, I don't.
well, an RV has plumbing and stuff like that. You know, like that. That's and so does a boat or a houseboat. You know, like
yeah.
yeah, and everyone's definition is going to vary, but it's like if you're living in like a van that's not been like tricked out or converted or something, that I might consider homeless versus like, you know, a full on RV or, you know, a pretty good sized van that has like a little tiny, you know, what compost toilet or something.
Well, I think like, what does that even matter? Why would that matter? It shouldn't matter. Like, these are our fellow human beings.
I think people draw the line at hygiene.
Okay, yeah.
You know, I think that's just what it boils down to is like, can you shit somewhere where it's not going to bother me?
Mm-hmm.
Can you clean yourself? Can you feed yourself within a certain confined space? Then okay, that's a home. Whatever, you know.
Yeah,
A tent could technically be a home, yeah. But I mean, like,
totally could be,
except for the whole like hygiene part, right?
Depending on what you have available, yeah. Now I remember
you could very well sponge bath yourself, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Or have access to facilities that you can take showers and stuff. Yeah, I remember an ex-girlfriend, like she used to have to very carefully walk back to her car after work because homeless people would take a dump next to cars in her parking strip. And it's like, you know, if you want respect, let
me tell you, like commuting to Seattle on the train once a week, I'll almost step in human shit just out in the middle of the international district, just like in this, you know, like decorative area, big fat human shit just chilling on the brick pavement there, like. And one time I saw a lady like with her pants around her ankles peeing into her cupped hand. I'm guessing to like deflect the pee away from her pants. I don't know. And it's like, and if I have to take a leak and I would like go to the Starbucks, they'd be like, well, our bathrooms are closed. I was like, well, where do you pee? And they're like, well, we had to close them to the public because of some problems in the area. And I'm like, you mean the problems that are now like I'm stepping in? You know? Like,
yeah. Oh God!
Please tell me more about your problem.
Get me started on the Seattle bathroom problem.
Mm-hmm.
Oh God! Okay. I'm gonna say I think it was like 2005. I was seeing this girl in Seattle, probably the last girl I've ever dated in Seattle. and we went for a walk. And then nature calls. I'm like, "Ooh, I gotta go." And it's Sunday, so of course, like all the bathrooms are locked. And I'm like, "Ooh, I gotta go really bad." And she's like, "Oh well, we'll go up here to this neighborhood and yeah, Starbucks." I went to Starbucks and I was like, "Where's your bathroom?" And they were like, "Oh, we don't have public bathrooms." And we went from store to store. Um, I remember going into like a skateboard store and I was like, "I really have to go. Can I use your bathroom?" And they were like, "Oh, no bathrooms here." And I was like, "I'll pay you.
Yeah.
How much money do you want for me to use your bathroom?" And they were like, "Oh, we can't do that." I was like, "Fuck." So we had to walk like a mile back to her place so I could use the bathroom.
Yeah. We have a whole episode on public urination that will probably crack you guys up. So check that one out. We'll stick it up in the corner. But yeah, like it's ridiculous. It's like every time I run into that situation where I like pull into a gas station, which like should never have closed bathrooms. Like the whole point of a gas station is like a pit stop for various reasons,
like,
right?
You fuel up, you get some food, some snacks, and you take a piss or take a dump or something like that, and move on.
And they're like, "Oh, we don't have public bathrooms," and I always say, "Well, where do you pee?" Because that's a bathroom, and I should be able to use it. Like,
yeah,
and if they tell me there's no public bathrooms, I'm sure as shit not giving them any money.
No,
so I'm just leaving. Like, like fuck that. Like, even if I'm like totally out of gas, I'll push my car to the next gas station as long as their bathroom is open. Like, fuck you.
yeah, that's bullshit. No, I mean, maybe they're probably overreacting to past events where people abused said services.
I'm sure they are, but it's like you can't punish other people for what a few people do. Like the military even got in trouble for this. Like making everyone do push-ups because one guy fucked up. That's inhumane. That's torture.
Yeah.
They classified that as torture. And it's it's like, well, it's the definition of unfair, right?
Yeah, it is.
I didn't do anything. That guy did. I'm being punished.
Being punished for something somebody else did.
Silence, fool. Shut up.
Nice Red Dwarf reference there. Oh man, I wish we could post that. Apparently we can't.
So many good clips.
Yeah,
I don't know. Yeah, the whole issue of homelessness just always gets me riled up because it's such an unfair thing to like look down on someone for. Pretty much like 99% of people that are homeless don't want to be, didn't choose to be, would love to get out of it if they could. But just like poverty or anything, like there's this huge donut hole that you have to traverse to get out of it. Like, you can't just get a minimum wage job and pull yourself out of that hole.
No, and there's kind of a stigma too that society looks at you a certain way. Like that really bugs me. Because it doesn't. What good does it do? Like, we should be helping our fellow humans solve problems, whatever problems exist. Might be. I might have imbibed a bit too much beer, but that is definitely a thing that really bothers me. That
Yeah, and Christmas is coming up, and that's the kind of like giving nature sort of season, right? Like where
Mhm.
you generally kind of have this feeling of wanting to help your fellow man, and like maybe help out, go to a soup kitchen or something, or throw a few bucks someone's way. And if they use it for drugs, whatever, it makes them happy for 5 minutes or an hour or a day
Mhm.
or however long that drug lasts. Like, who gives a fuck?
Oh yeah, yeah, and in the I've witnessed this far too often. The Salvation Army bell ringing people, ringing bells and sitting there, and I like I honestly cannot walk by one of those people without giving something. I guess I'm a giving kind of person.
Well, and the
Um,
Salvation Army kind of like abuses that those donations, I've heard,
well,
but like,
they do, but
I get it though.
they're
Yeah.
better than the government. Um, I mean, a little step above. So it's something. Um, but yeah, like soup kitchens, this is the thing. Volunteer, bring your family, your friends and family to a soup kitchen. Help out, like feed other people and sit down and have a meal, a Thanksgiving meal with people who have nothing.
Yeah.
It really, really brings perspective. Like,
Yeah, I mean, you
oh,
never know when you're gonna need something like that.
and we all might.
I mean,
That
I had to live off of food banks for a long time, so
Mhm.
I try to give a little to food banks when I'm able to, or I went to volunteered to a soup kitchen, and you just try to pay it forward. And
Exactly. Like I remember when we first started the business when um I went to a food bank, some government thing, and they basically laughed at me and said, like, "Oh, well, you're running a business. Like, why are you destitute and you don't have anything?" It's like, because I'm running a business. What the fuck? Um,
without a loan.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Like, we're kind of winging it here. Um, but even the people who are supposed to help mocked that state of things, and it really made me feel like shit. Um,
Yeah.
so that's something I take to heart. Like I want to help people. I've always wanted to help people, and I always will. I don't know. Uh,
Yeah.
uh
So we could probably keep this one fairly short. We've had a few episodes that allude to some of the stuff that we've touched on, like homelessness and public urination,
well, and like
various
societal
economical
judgment and
ideas.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, like we'll go back to this, I think.
yeah. But it's Christmas. Try to be not a douche.
Yeah, and if somebody asks for help, help people. Like, where is the Christmas spirit? What happened to
At
that?
very least, don't turn your nose up.
Yeah.
Just be polite, and they're humans.
That's the most important thing to understand is that these are human beings. It doesn't matter if they have some kind of like weird backstory or like personality issues or drug addiction stuff.
Show me a person that doesn't have a personality issue.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, that's the thing. They're all fucking humans. These are people we should be looking out for. We should be looking out for our fellow humans. Oh, I'm gonna fucking cry.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that for Christmas.
Yeah. Well, yeah, we don't want to bum everyone out for Christmas. So
but
if you want a little bit of joy in your heart, just try to experience the act of giving without receiving.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that. And yeah.
And I guess my advice would be look at it from other people's perspective. Like, try to imagine. Well, I mean, current events. Was it Tennessee with the huge tornadoes and stuff?
Kentucky,
they had
mostly
Kentucky, yeah, like
Illinois.
A lot of people lost everything. So imagine what it would be like if you lost everything. Your whole life is gone. Everything you have.
Oh, around here, Mount Rainier goes and Puyallup is gone.
Yeah.
You know,
yeah, exactly.
If you're lucky to get away with your life, you've become homeless. You know.
Ooh, man.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point. Yeah, so there are a lot of people who are going to experience this, and we shouldn't judge people because they're going through that kind of thing. It doesn't matter, even if it's like some kind of societal bullshit. Well, they're addicted to heroin or meth or something. Yeah, well, you might be someday.
Yeah, try living on the street and turning down heroin.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and honestly, like, I have to say, I don't blame people who are living on the street for having that issue,
wanting to escape. Yeah,
it's like Ready Player One.
I mean, if you're on your way to the dispensary and somebody asks you for spare cash and you're like, oh, we're probably just going to use it for drugs, where do you think you're going? Like,
yeah, exactly.
You know, like there's a large number of people that partake in, you know, recreational drugs and don't see any problem with that, except if it's a homeless person doing it.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, like, you can get into the argument of like, well, weed isn't as bad as heroin. Well, whatever. They're both escapes from reality.
Mm-hmm.
Addiction isn't the question. It's, you know, you're just trying to alter your reality for a limited period of time.
Yeah.
Whatever.
And in a large part, like, addiction is psychological, not physical. Unless, I mean, if you're talking opiates, it does tend to verge in that direction
quite a bit. Yeah. But I mean, marijuana does too. It's just different levels, you know. So,
well, whether it's like marijuana, psilocybin, LSD, or heroin, it's like kind of the same thing.
Fucking lewds.
Oh man.
Yeah, people get too hung up on, you know, like the red herrings in arguments like that, but it's like a drug is a drug, right?
Well, and they tend to lose sight of the humanity of the person on the other side.
Yeah.
That's the thing that, like,
this is a drug.
Yeah, alcohol. Hey, all right. Open another beer.
Oh man.
It's a psychoactive drug. Like, woo. Hmm.
Well, I mean, people always like jump down my throat when I say that marijuana is a mild hallucinogen, and they're like, "No, it's not a hallucinogen." And I was like, "Yeah, it is."
Oh, what? What? Who
Like,
would say that it isn't?
yeah,
Oh,
if your perception is altered in even the slightest way, but I mean, like that's enough. But I mean, the few times I've tried it, like I've had full on hallucinations before that I had
yeah.
like a blaster pistol and I was like pew 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 like having some like laser fight with some like
What the
nothing.
fuck? How did you? Oh, good.
That's a
Good.
hallucination.
Okay, uh, you should trip like I do. Oh man. Oh man.
Crystal method.
Yes. Oh man. Uh well, yeah, and okay, I don't know how to follow that up. That was good. Um Man.
Well,
But
we should probably keep it short. And,
yeah, we're at like almost an hour now.
oh geez,
So
yeah,
that's not really very short.
not very short. Yeah.
No, but we just spent like multiple hours like setting up the venue stuff for
Yes,
the upcoming
we should
episode.
give that another plug. Yeah, the 40th birthday for yours truly is going to be a double live event where you can be there in person to see us on stage. Or, if you're a lame-o and you just want to watch from your couch, you can live stream it, or you could watch the replay at any time, but you could be there cover free at Colt Mead in South Tacoma, December 30th. That's a Thursday. But you should be there.
It's gonna be epic. And
I guarantee it.
Oh man. Can't wait. That's
Yes.
gonna be something special.
Come deep sink dive into a live lightning round that's Casey themed. You can throw topics at us and
or tomatoes.
Well, yeah, let's try not to bring actual fruit.
Yeah,
throw it.
We'll try to avoid that.
Yeah, yeah. We want to be invited back. So definitely mark that on your calendars. Come on out. Spend as much money on mead as you want or don't want, and enjoy the show with us.
Well, there's very few places that are mead focused. So
exactly. Which, if you don't know what that is, it's honey wine.
Yeah.
So there's a certain sweetness to it, but they get rather creative with flavors at Colt, and there's some really good stuff. So,
well, yeah, and the term honeymoon, in fact, is derived from mead. Yeah, that's where it all began.
And if your only exposure to mead is like Sky Mead, like the $3 bottle of mead from like Albertsons, like you really need to come out and try real mead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to discount somebody because they like that, because like it's not bad, but yeah, there's some better stuff.
Yeah.
So come to the show.
Yep.
Yeah. I think we've come to a wall.
Thanks for deep sink diving into a topic about people who don't have sinks to deep dive into.
Although I remember we had a milk crate that had a kitchen sink in it.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, you could do that if you're clever.
You never did build a milk crate hot tub.
Oh, damn. Oh, we totally should have. Oh, the girls. Oh, never mind. Okay. I should. No.
Oh, some of the parties we had, though.
That's true. Those are good. Like the fight. And
nobody wants to hear those stories, though, right?
CD release party. Oh, man. Whew. Well, yeah, I guess that's a pretty good point to end on.
Well, have a good night, everyone.